Well, I see the time and I see it is already 12 noon Mexico time and 19 hours in Rome. So we would like to start this webinar. And before I present our speaking person, Zuzanna Flisowska Caridi, which we have the pleasure, and really we were looking forward to meet her and to talk to her. I will like to say some words, if you may permit me, in Spanish, and then I will translate them in English, and then I will continue to present you, Zuzanna. Estamos realmente, pues, sumamente contentas y muy entusiasmadas de este webinar, porque es una señal de que nuestras redes se siguen ampliando, se siguen abriendo. En esta ocasión, pues, hasta Roma, con esta magnífica y maravillosa ponente que tenemos hoy como invitada, quien amablemente aceptó nuestra invitación y quien nos hablará de, pues, quizá una organización, de una iniciativa, pues para muchos en América Latina no tan conocida, que se llama Voices of Faith. Ella nos hablará, ella es la gerente general de esta iniciativa, de este gran movimiento, está desde Roma, y pues voy a traducir esto al inglés. Luego la presentaré y les cederemos la palabra. Ella habla muy claramente el inglés, así que espero que quienes pues, nos están siguiendo no tengan ningún problema. Y más adelante trataremos de hacer una traducción para que este webinar quede grabado con su voz en inglés y con subtítulos en español. Well, Zuzanna, I was telling to the people that it's following us, that it's already here with us, that we are really pleased and grateful to you for your kind response and for accepting our invitation. It's really wonderful for us, and it's a new experience, and it's, as I was saying to you before, that a signal that our networking is getting wider. This time it's arriving to Rome, and for us it's very, very nice. And I think for all the people, or many people in Latin America, that doesn't know very well what Voices of Faith is all about, all the movement, all the time you have been, and all the work you do. Well, we are very pleased that we have you today with us, and that you can explain and tell us about all the wonderful things you are doing from Rome to the world. And without further comments, I will present you, Zuzanna, briefly as the CV you send us, and then I'll give you the word. Well, Zuzanna Flisowska Caridi is General Manager of Voices of Faith, an international initiative advocating for women in leadership positions of the Catholic Church, and represents the organization in Rome. In her native Poland, she earned degrees in history of art and Catholic theology. At the German synodal path, she is a member of Forum Women in Ministries and Offices in the Church. So, Zuzanna, we give you the most warm welcome, and all the floor is yours, as we say, and please feel free to tell us everything about you and about Voices of Faith. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much for this such a welcome, such a warm welcome. And I just have to repeat what you said. We are very happy to have this bridge between America and Europe, and we are very happy to connect. And because I think it is an important part of our work, of our goal also, to hear to each other, to listen to each other, to get to know different experiences of women around the world, and to support each other in our communities, in our struggle for gender equality in our church. I will just shortly share a short presentation I prepared. So we prepared this together, this title, Giving Voices to Those Unheard, which is obviously a little bit a play with the name of our organization I would like to present to you today, which is Voices of Faith. But also, and its mission also, I mean, that's something I would define as our mission, that we are trying to give voice or to make this voice heard to those who are in the system of Catholic Church, who are discriminated, who are unheard. But obviously this title is also a little bit provocative, because perhaps that's women in general, it's not the first group you think about if you hear this title. Perhaps you think about some minority groups which has difficulties, special difficulties. You don't think about half of the humanity actually. And so I was happy to choose this title because it shows also an important part of our situation, that we got used to the fact that we women, we don't have a practical and structural places or instruments to make our voices heard. From some years now, we're trying to build this space. We try to create it. We try to create networks that will be a platform to express our voice, express our experience. But the problem is that in many times in societies, but basically in the Catholic Church, there is no instrument to make the voice of more than 50% of baptized heard. In the everyday discourse and practice, we are present in the church, but we are, as many times you describe it, we are the silent part of the church. And what Voices of Faith is doing, and I believe that's what also you're doing in Mexico, is to try to change this situation. Today, I would like to present you shortly basic information of Voices of Faith, of our history, and of our focus today. I'm very sorry I can do this in Spanish, but I hope we'll succeed in communicating and questions afterwards. So Voices of Faith is an initiative, international initiative of a private foundation, Fidel Goetz Foundation, that since 60s support Catholic organizations in education and charity works. And from 2014 has found this initiative. We are, among our small team, we are very international, and we are trying also to connect people internationally. And that's also why I'm very happy also to build this bridge with you today. And we are activists. We are an initiative that tries to put into practice theses and discoveries that feminist theologians has expressed in theory. We are trying to convince church to listen to this attitude that we know from feminist theology. And I put here 3 aspects that I think are crucial both for feminist theology and for our activity as activists. First of all, it's the experience. We want to listen to experience, to real experience of Catholic women around the world, without judging it, without censoring it. We just want to get to know what's the real experience of women in the church is. And it's also important that it is experience of women. I mean, that's not female experience, it's experience of many diverse women. Because even if we share the same situation, we are very, very diverse in our lives. So we want to listen to this experience as a first step, which is a crucial postulate of feminism, and but also of feminist theology. We want to encourage women to speak up, especially those who has special difficulties of taking voice publicly. We were before chatting a little bit about religious sisters, which is a special group of our interests. We are trying to encourage also them to speak up, even if it's difficult for them, because they are very dependent on the self-institution of the church. And we want to convince the official church to listen to this experience, and most of all, to treat this experience as serious as they're treating men experience. We don't want to be heard as some special minor group who has special needs. We are the half of the humanity, we are the half of the church, and we want that our interpretation of the faith, that our experience and our thoughts and difficulties are seen in the practice and of the church and in theology as serious as men experience, not better, not weaker, just the same. As I said, the important aspect of this experience we want to show to the church is its diversity. It's what in feminist theology is called contextuality. We want to show that being a woman, it's not the unique criteria in your life. You're not. You have so much other values, other experience, other cultural, sociological aspects, and we are doing it. We are each time we are really underlining this issue, because the church in its official documents many times speaks about a Catholic woman as it would be a single person who has, as we women, has all the same experience and all the same vocation. What we believe is not that there is no female vocation or female way of being Christian. We are very diverse, and what is important, we are led we hope we are led by the Holy Spirit in places that are surprising, that are new to us. And we would like that in the church, our charismas, our talents, and our experience is seen directly as it is, not because it's feminine, not just as a feminine experience. And what is interesting for, I think, in our work, what we discovered in these years of Voices of Faith, I think, is that searching for this diversity, caring for this diversity, shows us that the problem of gender inequality, it's not just the problem of one country or one culture. Obviously, is if we meet now between Latin America and Europe, that's the proof that among this diversity, the fundamental thing that joins us is that we women, we stand in front of the structures that are discriminating us. So I think that's very important because, again, we in Europe, many times we are told that it's only European problem. But obviously, I don't have to explain it to you that it's not European problem. It's all over the world. Women are longing to be treated as equals. And the third thing I find very interesting in feminist theology, and it's something I think that good describes our situation, it's that we are in this endless process of interpretation and questioning. We are, the more we listen to those experiences, the more we discover about the discriminating structures of our thinking, but also of the structure of the institution. What is interesting is that each step we are doing on this way of hearing, of listening to women, opens our eyes to next problems, actually. It's for me personally, it's really a fascinating school of reinterpreting things I have been learned from since the beginning of my life as, firm and obvious truths. So how do we proceed with this attitude? I would like to tell you shortly our history, which starts in 2014, when, thanks to the initiative of Chantal Goetz, for the first time, Voices of Faith organized International Women's Day in the Vatican. This gesture of organizing of celebrating International Women's Day in the Vatican may seem very, very simple. It was as simple as inviting different women to the Vatican, to the heart of their church, and to ask them to tell their stories of vocation, their stories of leadership in their communities. And this simple gesture should be natural, but still, we would see in our story, it was still daring, still shocking, and still putting us in a way in a situation of troublemakers. As I said, the method, the idea of these meetings, of this first meeting, was simple storytelling. It wasn't theory. It wasn't a scientific conference. Those women didn't present papers on certain issues they are distant from. They told their stories. They told their experience. They bring to Rome a piece of their community. So this International Women's Day continue for 4 years. I brought some photos from each event. The first one was, as I said, 2014. That's 2015, 16, and 17. That's just a small part of speakers, but you can see diverse, even if in this small group. Each of this meeting, even if organized in presence in Vatican, and everybody who registered could join in person, obviously was also streamed in the internet. I mean, perhaps 10 years ago, it wasn't that obvious. It was streamed in the internet. So people who are not able to travel just for one day of conference to Rome could follow it from their homes. And it was always translated to various languages, also to take care of this diversity also among our audience. And each of this event then was put, each of story was put in a special magazine. We edited after each event, and you still can find it on our website. Easy to download and to read digitally. The story of International Women's Day in the Vatican ended or changed in 2018, when the Vatican told us that some of our speakers are not well seen in the Vatican, and that we should change the list of speakers in order to get in. And that was, I think, I wasn't a part of Voices of Faith yet, so I can perhaps judge it from outside. I think it was a very important moment for the organization, the moment of decision, and a moment of, I would say, new beginning also. Because the decision has been made to maintain the original list of speakers, no matter what consequences would come. And actually, the consequences was there that we had to leave the Vatican with our event. Fortunately, the Jesuit Curia, just next to the Vatican walls, accepted the fourth event of Voices of Faith there. So in 2018, the event of Voices of Faith took place just next to the Vatican, just the first place outside of the Vatican, with the original program, and with the brilliant speech of President of Ireland, Mary McAleese. Here's some other speakers from that event. And as I said, that was the moment of the new beginning for Voices of Faith. Paradoxically, because that story made us also quite famous in Rome, because everybody started to be interested, who are those women that were expelled from the Vatican. So we get some serious media attention in that year. And that year we opened also the office in Rome. So from that moment we have this constant presence in Rome with our office. And we try to be present in to be with our perspective each time the important issues are discussed in the church in Rome. We try to be there to respond to media, to explain that what's the difference when we are in this debate, when we are including female voices. And from that time, we also decided to build this constant presence in Rome by promoting female perspective on important issues that are discussed presently in the church. 2018, as you can remember, was quite dramatic year when new reports on sexual abuse against minors came out, and it was obviously, shocking and for everybody, and pushed us also to address this subject. And from that moment, the problem of violence in the church will stay with us. And in different moments, we will get back to this subject. So in 2018, in November, when already the Vatican summit on abuse against minors was announced, we organized a meeting that we called Overcoming Silence, Women's Voices in the Abuse Crisis, because we said it's impossible. There will be no solution to abuse crisis if we still exclude women to comment on these subjects. Women who are victims also, who were victims when they were girls, women who are mothers, who are teachers, who are theologians. If we don't open up discussion for everybody, we will not move forward. So we organized this meeting with 3 incredible testimonies of abuse survivors, female abuse survivors who experienced abuse in different stages of their lives, and the discussion of the experts. We followed up also this event by sending the proceedings from this meeting to all bishops that were invited to the summit in the Vatican. And we followed up also with a press conference just before the summit. I don't know if you remember this summit, but the strongest voices there in the Vatican was 2 women who addressed bishops really without any fear. So that was for us a confirmation that if you, after all these ages of silence, if you open up the microphones for women, they will make a difference. Another subject we are addressing, and it became also very important, especially in these years, is the idea of, we can say, synodality, or the problem of division of power in the church, in the institution. And we are trying to follow up, criticize sometimes when needed, or propose also concrete solutions that this process of dividing power with lay people is really efficient. It really brings really concrete fruits. This is what I'm showing you. Is the part of our website dedicated to the campaign Overcoming Silence. That was a campaign, this time not concentrated on pushing changes in the Vatican, in the institution, but promoting our ideas, promoting our activity among people, because we see that in the church there are 2 usually, especially among young people, there are 2 ways of behaving. One is accepting everything you hear and see in the church as it is. And the second is just, if you see that something goes wrong, just to leave. We wanted to encourage, especially young people, to search for the third path we are believing in, and that you can stay in and speak about things that are difficult for you, that are unjust for you, and to dedicate your activity to a change. So it was a fascinating process of collecting voices really from around the world, because it was on the internet, everything, so everybody could join, and reading messages from these people, sometimes engaged in the church. We had 2 messages from bishops. We have many messages from religious sisters, but also we had also voices from really young people, teenagers, high school students. So that was a platform when those people could express their need for gender justice in the church. But we also wanted to not only to make them express their feelings, but also to invite them to understand the situation in a more profound way. So we prepared that's what I'm showing here, some educational resources when we explain a little bit more how the power is now, how the power functions now in the church, and how it could be open to the wider group of Christians. Another campaign we had that was connected to the subject of synodality and of dividing of power was the campaign we promoted with other organizations, Catholic organizations, and it was called Votes for Catholic Women. And it was on the occasion of Synod in 2018. And we repeated it on another Synod on Amazonia. And that was a very simple request. The situation is that after reform introduced by Pope Francis, the delegates from men religious orders, were given voices, effective voices they could vote the final documents on Synod. And what the men religious orders did was to delegate a religious brother to vote these documents. So what happened that a lay person, because the religious brother is not ordained member of the community, so from canonical status, the same as all of us, this lay brother could vote for the first time on Synod of Bishops. And in this moment, we said it was so clear that the unique criteria by which this man could vote was that he was a man, which is not very theological argument. Religious sisters supported by these Catholic organizations and by us were asking, actually, we religious sisters who sit on the Synod Assembly, we would like to vote the final documents too. And here I'm showing you the photo that went really viral because there was this campaign. We were asking people to make the selfie with note for votes for Catholic women, and people were sending it around. And that's the Benedictine cloister in Switzerland. And sisters standing with this demand for votes really attracted so much attention. And a year after, we invited those sisters to Rome. We had a conference dedicated especially to religious sisters to hear their voices about the situation in the church. And they came also to repeat their request for gender equality actually on this subject. As you perfectly know, because you're a part of Catholic Women's Council, something very important to us in this years is also networking. It is something that is not only, it's really important because it is the way also to encourage women to speak out. Because many times, especially in countries or in churches that are conservative, women feel very lonely. They feel that they are the only ones who think in that way. They are the only ones who combine feminism, gender equality with their Catholic faith. And what networking brings us is to see that we're not alone, that there is something, perhaps that is something important in our thinking, if we have, you know, sisters in countries all over the world. And banally, it's also important to be networked when you want to raise your voice, because obviously the more we are, the more important our voice is. Unfortunately, it works like this. So in 2000, in the winter of 2019, in German-speaking countries in Europe, we started this network called Catholic Women's Council, because we just sat together with theologians, activists, religious sisters from German-speaking countries, and actually all of us said, okay, we're different, we have different agendas and everything, but we all feel that that's the moment now to act and to be together and to speak clearly that we have the same goal. And some months ago, some months after, in January 2020, we decided to go globally, and we invited our other organizations from our network to join Catholic Women's Council, and it's still growing and still inviting new members. And I think that this Catholic Women's Council was really a sign of solidarity and sisterhood, especially among months of pandemic. When we met online, we celebrated liturgies together. We read reflections on the gospel prepared by women. We met on many conferences and webinars, and I think in this time especially, you could feel that there is a concrete community created by this Catholic feminist network. What we are focusing on are religious sisters. From the beginning of this year, we dedicate a special attention to the religious sisters, because we believe that we see many times that they are the group that is in twice as excluded as not religious women, because they are so by the way of their life, by the vow of obedience, they are very dependent on the church as institution. But also we see that when religious sisters decide to speak up and decide to describe their experience in the church and express also honest criticism on the structure on the church, their voices are very powerful. And that's something we want to promote. We want to encourage those religious sisters to tell their stories. We also want to show to the not religious world that those are, again, very diverse and interesting and courageous women. And obviously the subject that is coming back when we're hearing to experience of religious women is violence again, is the different kind of abuse against religious sisters, may it be financial, intellectual, abuse of power, abuse of the vow of obedience, spiritual abuse, sacramental abuse, and finally also sexual abuse. That's something religious sisters all know, but in many times they're not able to speak about it in the way they'd like and they should. So we are now facing a very delicate but we believe important phase of listening to religious sisters, of building a network among them, helping them build network among them, and showing that their freedom and their dignity is a crucial part of religious life, and no one is authorized to take it from them. The pictures I'm showing you now, it's again taken from our website, from the campaign we called Sister, What Do You Say? Because again, we want to hear voices of religious sisters. And those religious sisters, plus again, Mary McAleese, talked on our International Women's Day this year. It was digital because of pandemic. And they all reflected on the vow of obedience. We invited them to reflect on this subject because it is such an important vow for religious life. But we feel, and they experience confirmed this, that's also the vow that is so misunderstood and misused against religious sisters. So it is important to reflect on it and to talk about it, to see its real sense and its spiritual sense, but not to make it an instrument against religious sisters, to abuse them and to manipulate them. And we are now continuing with promoting meetings, private meetings among religious sisters, to encourage them to talk among themselves about difficult issues in their religious life. And we know also that it is very delicate subject, and they are in the many times in, especially those who experience abuse themselves, in very vulnerable situation. And that's why we also we are starting also a solidarity fund for those who will find themselves in financial difficulties. Okay, that was everything. That was a short extract of what we are doing and why we're doing this. And now I think we can pass to the questions or comments.
Well, Zuzanna, thank you very much for your exposition. I think it's very interesting. What are you doing in Voices of Faith? And I would like to share the page again, now in Spanish, so the people who is watching and listen can understand better what you are saying, and also they can access to the page and maybe interact with it. So I'm going to share my share it. Let me see. Oh, sorry. I need to close this and share it with you. No. I'm going to explain in English. Well, here, aquí tenemos la página de Voices of Faith. La página está en varios idiomas, como pueden ustedes ver aquí en la parte de arriba. Está en francés, en español, en italiano, en alemán, en inglés. Y estoy en la sección de español. Es muy interesante que Voices of Faith haya tomado en cuenta todo esto de la traducción, porque esto nos acerca más y hace mucho más cercana y más posible nuestra comunicación y nuestro encuentro con mujeres que se encuentran en esta búsqueda de igualdad y de equidad dentro de la iglesia. Entonces, bueno, me gustaría como hacer un pequeño recorrido sin quitar mucho tiempo antes de las preguntas, de todas estas voces cuentan, como dice aquí, ¿no? Abogamos por una iglesia católica profética donde las voces de las mujeres cuenten, participan y lideran en igualdad de condiciones con los hombres. Y luego, bueno, pues vienen algunas noticias, como ustedes pueden ver, pero a mí me gustaría detenerme en esto que nos ha dicho tanto Zuzanna, que es esta iniciativa de hermana, ¿tú qué tienes que decir? Y se me hace muy interesante y quiero como recalcarlo mucho en este webinar, en que hay mucha violencia en las órdenes religiosas de mujeres. Y muchas veces no encuentran un lugar donde poder levantar la voz y decir qué tipo de violencias están viviendo. Pues aquí tenemos un espacio maravilloso, donde pueden ustedes acceder y pueden, como todas estas mujeres que encontramos aquí, contar sus historias, contar estas historias en donde ha habido abuso, donde ha habido violencia, donde ha habido invisibilización, violencia psicológica, física, etc. Entonces, bueno, invitamos a todas las religiosas a hacer este análisis de esto no puede seguir pasando y a que levantemos la voz. Entonces las invitamos a que en este espacio, que es en español, puedan ustedes acceder y contar sus propias historias. Entonces, bueno, pues era interesante para mí entrar en la página y que lo escucharan ustedes en español para que hubiera esta forma de encontrar el lugar y de visibilizarlo y solamente darle clic y poder ustedes contar sus propias historias. Bueno, pues muchísimas gracias y ahora más. Ahora sí, Marisa, si quieres continuamos con las preguntas. Bienvenida.
Claro que sí, Andrea. Well, antes de hacer alguna traducción de las preguntas que tenemos aquí por escrito, voy a hacerle un comentario a Zuzanna en inglés. Zuzanna, Andrea, well, as you noticed, she was showing the page in Spanish, so that people can get more familiar. And I will try to translate some questions we have here in Spanish, Zuzanna. But before that, if I may take the word, as you show us, I mean, the path, the way hasn't been easy. You are very brave on all what you have done there inside the walls of the Vatican and outside walls of the Vatican, no? And I think this is very, well, inspiring and hopeful for many women here in Latin America. But also, I think it's a little bit, or in a way, deceiving, because, I mean, all the efforts still we can see a lot of violence and abuse, in all sorts of abuse of power in all the ways, as you say. I mean, we still have a long way to go, and we have to form and inform the people. I know you are doing your best, but it's a way, I mean, it's challenge to all the church. We are all church, laity, and all sisters and nuns and priests and everybody. So one of the questions I saw here, and I would like to add it because I went yesterday also into your pages many other times, but you say, we also imagine and create completely new and innovative way women can and must be included right now without asking for permission. I know you talk about it, but do you have any concrete or thing that you can talk about to us? And I will try to make my translation and to put the questions into English while you ask this for us, if you please. Thank you.
I think here we have two issues, let's say. One thing is what we're trying to do and what many people, many women, especially in the countries that are a little bit more open to the discussion, are doing, is to effectively enter into the structure of the church and to push for change from the inside of the institution. But that's obviously something that it's not open to all of us. So what we're saying is we should not lose our time and energy to wait for the permission. We should be creative. We should be self-assured and well-informed now. It is obviously, as you said, long path and difficult path because we don't have any power in our hands. It's only, power of arguments, of prayer, of contacts among women. But what we're trying to encourage women to do, it's to take the situation they can in their hands. So perhaps they can, they can do, as many women in Germany, for example, they can do perhaps a manifestation or a strike, or they can, in other contexts, perhaps they can create a community and be part of CVC as a community and to inform women around them in their parishes, in their families, and by their friends about the fact that a different church and different discourse in the church is possible. So there is no one response for each situation, obviously. But I think what we're trying also to search for ourselves is to be creative and also to have this dignity to say, I'm baptized, I'm the part of the church, and I don't like something in the church. So what I can do concretely to change it? Perhaps it can be gathering a group of people. Perhaps it can be addressing your parish priest, your bishop, whoever. Perhaps it can be, taking a course in feminist theology. Perhaps it would be taking part in the internet campaign. Yeah, these are small steps, obviously, but I think that's the unique start we can get.
Of course, Zuzanna, it's better than doing nothing, of course. I agree completely with you. And in this way, I would like to translate one of the a question. Actually, there are two questions from the same person, Maria Cristina Ventura. Tirsa Ventura. She's a recurrent follower of us. And we say hello to you, Tirsa. It's a great pleasure for us that you are here today with us again. And she says that it's an excellent proposal from both Voices of Faith. And she would like, if you can, and she will be grateful if you can answer or get deeper into in what way, in what way it will be better to make, the voices of women, to make them had a greater role or a greater power inside the church, to make them be more valuable, we can say. Sorry for repeating it, but I would like to make it clear, as she said, and more or furthermore than just achieving or assuming the roles of leadership in the Vatican. Is that clear, Zuzanna?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
You go deep into that matter.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, the unique thing that is giving me hope actually is that we are now in very special moments in the history when actually more and more people, and actually that's constantly the subject of the public debate, is that we have the problem of with power in the church. That's something, for example, I come from Poland, which is very hierarchical and conservative church. And even there, people are starting to admit this, that we don't have only a problem, as you were saying, in very, very good way. We're not having a problem just with putting one woman here or one woman there. We have a problem of general logic of power and of exclusion of certain people in our church. So I think what gives me hope is that this discussion will really bring a change. I don't know what is the better system. I don't know how exactly should the church be organized, but I think the crucial thing is now that we are all engaged in our also local churches. We are all engaged in this debate about division of power, about abuse of power, and how can we actually structure the church that it is not built in the picture of monarchy, of one person who is deciding, about everything. So it's not very concrete, but I think to amplify this discussion, this not only about women, but about the power structure in the church, which obviously includes the problem of exclusion of women. I think I hope that this discussion will bring us new answers. So I think promoting this discussion, promoting difficult questions, why certain things are decided like this in the church, is the way to, we all have to engage in this discussion. So we get loud and we get also concrete reflections, because you need also expertise and courage here.
Thank you very much, Zuzanna. I have here another question of Margarita Reves, who is here in the Zoom. I don't know if you want to say your question, Margarita, or I can do it. What do you want?
I prefer you do it, Maria Andrea.
Okay. Well,
I think it's
the question is it has been mentioned that there are already women in leadership positions within the Vatican. However, it is not the same that they are invited to participate and be leaders by areas or with limitations. If their final position is not taken into account, nor your vote, because the rules or laws of the Vatican have not been modified. The church woman asks for equality in everything, not consideration. The process is being very slow. What do you think about this?
Yeah, the process is definitely slow, but I think the problem is twofold here. So one issue is really purely cultural and historical. So there are positions in the Vatican, but also in dioceses, in parishes, that from the theoretical point of view, they are open to lay people. And if they are open to lay people, they are also open to women. But they are given to, because it has been always done like this. They are been given to priests, to bishops, and in the worst case, to laymen. So there is a certain group of offices also in the Vatican that, from the theoretical point of view, there is no problem of appointing a woman, or we would like even to see the concourse for the application possibility for such a job, such an office, because usually people are get appointed for this offices, whereas actually it would be nice to have a transparent process why this person is chosen, and whether perhaps any theologian or expert can candidate themselves for that. And so that's the easy part, actually, because it's really to convince concrete people to accept women there. And the second thing is more complicated, because obviously those offices that are available to lay people are small number, and obviously they will help to change, because if the women have a deciding role on even on a small part of the cake, it is already changing the experience and the way we treat women. If we see the women on high positions, we start to think about women in a different way. But the second thing is what we were saying before. It's the systemic problem. Here is the question of diaconate for women, of ordination of women, and all of these offices that are binded together with ordination. And here we would need really systemic and concrete decisions. And here the really reform is needed. I mean, you cannot just point a woman in this office because it's binded to the ordination. So the big question is whether all these offices are, is it necessary to that, I don't know, somebody who is administrating in diocese is a bishop in a sense that has ordination. Whether can we think of any different of another way of organizing a diocese in which bishop is responsible for sacramental life, and the power is taken by somebody else. So and here the discussion is complex, because knowing the history of the church, it will take ages to change this.
Thank you very much, Zuzanna. I would like to go back to Tirsa's question because there were actually two. But first, I would like to ask you, Tirsa, if you have anything further to say or to ask to Zuzanna about your first question. Sí, Zuzanna, estás por ahí. No sé si la primera parte de tu pregunta quedó... Tirsa, perdón, si quedó con tu pregunta o quisieras añadir algo más para que podamos plantear la segunda parte de tu pregunta a Zuzanna.
Si quieres plantear la siguiente, Marisa, y a lo mejor ella puede intervenir después.
Okay, I think, well, I will try to say the second part of her question. In a way, I think you say something about it, but maybe you can go deeper as well. She says, in what structure or church organization are you thinking further than this pyramid, yes, androcentric, patriarchal, where the woman can well, in what church organization can we include really, and to take to account all women? Do you have something in mind? I mean,
I don't know if I get the question right. So whether there is a structure in the church already that includes women?
No, with this imagination, this creativeness, I mean, we are thinking to make alternative way of church, maybe like I think it's in this way, the question, or how can we really include in some church organization, not the actual pyramidal patriarchal structure we have. The synodality, but you can maybe tell us more some of other initiatives or...
Yeah, I think, yeah, again, we come back to the problem of power at the end, which is double problem in the Catholic Church, because Catholic Church refuses to name it power. I mean, usually when we try to address the subject of power, there is always somebody who's saying, no, but in the church, there is no power. There is just a service. We are family. We should serve one each other. And obviously the spirit should be this one, but at the end, this power, somebody is taking this power, and the only thing that happens when we don't address the power is that it's uncontrolled. So the problem with us acting in a creative and independent way is that those people actually have power, and we can obviously organize our life, our spiritual life, in the way we want, but it will be not an official change in the power of church, obviously. And the problem is that who has power has to give it up, let's say. I mean, the story of societies shows that or this person sees the situation and gives the power up, or the revolution happens. Revolution in the context of religious institution is obviously problematical. We know it also from the past. So it is difficult, and I think the unique way is to balance between this creativity and in independence, but to be clever, to engage in those places when people can have power. And I think, yeah, example of German synodal path is gives hope. I mean, that's something that opened up suddenly for lay people. And at the end, I think the power of public opinion, it's also a power at the end. So I think to promote those ideas who are there at the end, those theological ideas of synodality, of being together, but also actually of not being afraid to address also the power structure and saying that we need that history showed that democracy is better than monarchy, and perhaps we should take it to account in the Catholic organization. I don't know if it responds to the question, but
yes, thank you. Tirsa, she's writing and it says that thank you very much. She's grateful for your answer, and she's.
Well, thank you. I have another question of Margarita. She says that the church as an institution is guided by the Holy Spirit, the same one who gave Christ to all mankind. Why does the patriarchal and hierarchical institution refuse to strengthen itself with the spirit of all the women who want to do it? On the contrary, it drives them away. It's terrible, this. So why, what do you think about the why is this? Why the women are viewed as so bad?
I asked myself this question a lot of times. When I saw, because for me, what we are doing, it's actually promoting some basic truths I honestly, personally find in Christianity itself. So I asked myself many times why, when I say I work for gender equality in the church, people are, having allergic reaction to this. Or they don't understand, but basically why there is such a fear or why there is this allergic reaction to the subject of discrimination of women. And I think it's again from different reasons I see. One is, so one answer I give to myself when I have a good day, and I try to be misericordiosa.
Yes.
And to understand people I have in front of me. And I think that's difficult for them because the Catholic Church as institution of a very precise and many rules and many a big theory behind, institution that teaches you to trust the institution, to obey the institution. This institution by ages were built in society where women didn't have anything to say. It's really just last century that we have voting rights and we can go to the university. So so that's something that rapidly changed in the society. And I think when I try to understand those people, I think that I can imagine their fear because it's something is happening that they don't understand, because they were taught this system when where the cultural message and theological message is mixed up. It's all together, and sometimes it's difficult to to logically divide levels, to say, okay, that's the sense, that's the real sense of Christianity. That's something that happened in the story but can change. I mean, like, it wasn't always like this, that priest didn't get married. So that's perhaps something that can change in history. But the fact that we believe that Jesus is the Son of God, that didn't change. So that's the important thing. We don't touch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be educated, and you have to be very honest, and also culturally educated to be able to look with honesty on these levels. And I think that's objectively difficult, because if you're talking about the lay structure, it's done by people, and it can be changed by people. But if you're grown up believing that those structures are somehow created together with the Holy Spirit, I believe that people grown up in this context, they can be honestly afraid of the change. They don't understand this change, and they don't know where is the truth. And unfortunately, we know from the history of the church that the church were slow to accept many changes in science and in humanities, and it is slow now to accept the new change that happens in human rights, basically. So that's that's the answer I give to myself when I try to be delicate. But I unfortunately sometimes I think, Zuzanna, don't be naive. There are also people, I believe, that they're just don't want to lose power.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are in the group of white men and you're functioning good in this group, you have rules, everything is set up, why would you like to change this? So I hope that people who are thinking in that way, they are not the majority, because that would be obviously difficult to change. But I think that's two answers I would see. So the basic one is the intellectual difficulty of seeing clear the problems. And the second thing, I guess, it's just a fear of losing power. Okay. Also a power of, so the problem with feminism, I think, is that that's something that comes, that is something that should be in the church, because if we read the gospel, it's revolutionary, and it shows the dignity of every humankind. But that's something that comes from the outside, and church picture herself as a moral authority that has the truth, and the outside world is bad, basically. And now to say, we mistaken, actually, you have right, you bad world, you have right. Mm-hmm. You're right, because the dignity of women actually makes sense. It's difficult. I mean, it's a little bit as with Copernicus. I mean, when you admitted that the globe is a sphere, many things start to collapse. And if you admit that the church failed to defend human dignity in women, you put in question so many things. So that's scary.
Yes. Thank you very much, Susan. And Marisa, I don't know if, okay.
Margarita wrote a question here in English. We can read it to you. And also I would want, she wrote it first. If you want, I can read it to you in English as she wrote it. And then I would like to ask you something, a little bit reflection I have. So if you can help us with that, Zuzanna, if you agree. Let me go ahead with Margarita's question. She says, why do we have to work for gender equality today? Christ gave the first stone to Peter, but his model of life was given to Maria Magdalena as the first apostle who understood his message very well.
Yeah, you mean why do we have to struggle with the structure today?
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes I think, wouldn't it be better just to take the Bible with me and go to the forest and live my spiritual life in peace? Yeah,
that would be easy.
That would be easy. And I mean, I think that everything that happened after Christ, it's a human struggle. There were people who tried to read his message, who tried to answer to his message, and didn't understand things. We read the gospel and we see that those apostles, they are basically till the end, till the last moment, they don't understand what's happening. When Christ is saying, why I'm 3 years with you and you didn't understand? So in our experience, obviously, it's, there are many things we don't understand, and I think that the church as institution has such a huge influence on human life of those who are within the church, but also of those who are basically in the societies shaped by the church. And the church has such an influence of our understanding of spirituality that it is very important. I mean, for me, it's important that you go through the institution, because if I take the Bible and go to the forest to read it, the institution will go on and unfortunately will cause pain, misunderstanding, and abuse. I mean, whether I am there or not. So I think it's, for my personal response is, I try to do both. I mean, I try to explore spiritual life, but I think it is actually crucial for other people also that we fix the institution also.
Thank you so much, Zuzanna. My reflection, more than probably an answer, a question, or maybe it includes a question in it, the pandemic situation has affected every structure, every organization, everybody personally. And I mean, to you that you are in Rome, I don't know if you have had the opportunity to really physically see empty the Vatican, the plaza, the big, and the church every Sunday for many, many weekends. I mean, do you think this might be a turning point to, or could have served as a reflection to the structure, to the church structure, to see, I mean, to really see a priest empty without any people? I mean, how will it affect, or do you think the impact will be of some good in further moment, or had question to see really the lack of people going into the church? How do you think it might be something, a good consequence, or on the contrary? I don't know, because I mean, I know many people has via Zoom created another way of celebrating or liturgies, but in the real fact, not not celebrating the Holy Week, not celebrating Christmas, actually in the church. How do you see that in Rome, in the Vatican itself, or in the churches around you?
I think that was an important occasion to both for hierarchical church and for laity to rethink our notion of community, our notion of importance of my real presence in the church, whether it changed something or not. But I'm not very optimistic on the answers we got. I mean, obviously, it depends on persons. But for me, there was something, and I know for many people, there was something uncomfortable or surprising when the church is closed, which was, I believe, for many people difficult, especially for those who live with sacraments, and for those who were feeling this fear, and that's the moment you need spiritual comfort. So I know that was difficult, but at least here in Italy, it was the unique decision to make. I mean, it was, the situation here was quite bad. So, and then many priests just continue the life, just putting the camera in front of them, and they just continue the mass without people. And it was something, and I mean, there are obviously masses for ill people normally. I remember from my childhood, there was masses via radio for those who couldn't attend. But the fact that the priests can just ignore the absence of all people and be alone to celebrate the mass. I know that was a big question. Like many people said, wait, so we cannot celebrate the mass without him, but he can without us. So where is the community? Where is the sense of the sacrament? And for me, it's ambiguous a little bit, but I had this thought, I have to say, that we are, I don't want to say starving, but if we want to use the metaphor, we don't have this bread of life, let's say, because of pandemic. Okay, so that's the difficult situation. I can, that's a suffering, but I understand it. But it was like, and he's still enjoying the feast, So I don't know, it's ambiguous for me. And but I know that there was, especially in Latin America, there was a vivid theological reflection on this time also. Not very much available to me in Spanish, but I know that there was a really, really fast reaction to this. I've heard about books published really in 3 months about this, and somehow obviously the prayer Pope did in front of Peter Square when he was just alone. It was a strong sign. Yeah, but I don't know how to judge whether this will stay with us or not.
Well, I think we have been a little bit long, this webinar, but this was very interesting. Thank you very much, Zuzanna, and we want to thank you for your presence and presentation in this webinar. There is certainly a lot to do. The important thing is to weave networks between women to renew the church, if it's possible. And I would like to say, to stay with these strong words that you mentioned. We are the silent part of the church. However, we are the most active, numerous, and visible group, both in the field of care, education, pastoral care, family, etc. So I invite every woman who is listening this webinar to get involved in this movement of change the Catholic Church through the way of synodality, and invite the religious women to share their experience of violence inside the church through the initiative of Voices of Faith. Again, thank you very much, Zuzanna, and thanks to all the people who connect through Zoom or Facebook Live. I hope we can meet soon and share more things in the future. I'm going to say it in Spanish.
I just want to say quickly that I'm very grateful for this invitation. It was a pleasure getting to know all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zuzanna, again. And, en español, me gustaría agradecer a todos y a todas los que se han conectado por Facebook o que se han conectado a través del Zoom. Y me gustaría invitar a todas las mujeres y los hombres que estamos interesados en renovar la iglesia, en que haya realmente otra iglesia posible, a que se involucren en este movimiento sinodal, en búsqueda de una sinodalidad, y que a las mujeres religiosas, a las que profesan alguna orden religiosa, que entren a la página de Voices of Faith y levanten su voz si han tenido alguna experiencia de violencia dentro de la iglesia. Agradezco profundamente, envío un abrazo muy fuerte. Marisa, muchas gracias. Muchísimas gracias, Mercedes, y a todas las que están aquí conectadas, a Margarita, a María Cristina, Stella, Ana Mercedes, Mónica, Maite, José Alessio, Zuzanna y Chantal. Muchas gracias por su presencia aquí también en el Zoom, y quedamos pendientes para otro webinar el próximo jueves. Thank you very much, Zuzanna, and see you soon, I hope.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Much to everyone. Buenas tardes. Good night. Thank you.